Welcome back to INF People. Today I want to talk a little bit about INFPs and authenticity. So this will be sort of a personal anecdote, uh, just about how I kind of found myself and became more authentic and became a lot happier because of it. So I think that INFPs, more than any other type, authenticity is very important to us, and it's very important for our self-esteem and for our real happiness. Like, to be happy, we sort of need to be true to ourselves because of our introverted feeling. We need to be true to our own values and beliefs and things like that. And the reason that sometimes it's hard for INFPs to be authentic is because in society in general, especially in American society, the INFP traits are not are not really valued in our society. So you could say that actually each other preference in American society is more valued than the INFP preferences. So extroversion is higher valued than introversion. Sensing is more valued than intuition. Unless you are an intuitive who has successfully created something, then people will sort of admire you. But if you're just a normal intuitive who hasn't really used their intuition to innovate anything, then it's just sort of like, get your head out of the clouds, come back down to earth. So sensing in general is higher valued in our society, and then thinking is more valued. That's just clear. There's no need to argue about that. And even judging is higher valued than perceiving. Being organized and well planned is higher value than adapting and being a sort of go with the flow kind of person. It can be difficult in our society for INFPs to feel that their true selves are valued. So because of that, it can be hard. It can sometimes be hard for us to be completely authentic all the time. And I think that most INFPs most INFPs will find their authentic self and sort of stick to it and go and maybe go against the grain of society and things like that. And even when we are sort of trying to blend with everyone else, sort of, we still remain true to our like core values. I don't think that any INFPs really don't remain true to their core value system. But I just want to talk about being authentic, like completely authentic, and like get into that place where you feel that you can be your true self all the time, and yeah, and how that leads to more happiness for the INFP, especially for the INFP. It's important for everybody to be authentic and to find their true selves, but I think that it's more important for the INFP especially. So the first time that I realized that I may not have been being completely authentic in the past was when I was in college and I had a few of my friends over, some of my friends from high school and even junior high school, that are still two of my best friends now. Shout out to Chris and Tony. So they were over at my house, and for whatever reason, I had found these old notes that I had from like seventh grade, like junior high school. And for those of you who are too young, way back in the day, before all the kids had cell phones, we used to pass notes to each other in class. I guess I had kept a bunch of these notes, and we were reading them, and they were just ridiculous. Like, I mean, like anything that you might see that you wrote way back then, but it was just like about, I don't know, just like the girls in our class, and like me trying to be a player and thinking I was cool and stuff like that. And my friend Tony was like, "Man, that was the real Derek." whatever happened to the real Derek? And I was just like, man, that was not the real me. Like that was this not really a facade, but it was sort of like an exaggerated form of myself. So back then, I had changed schools when I was in like halfway through seventh grade, and I kind of saw it as like a chance to almost reinvent myself. So when I first that was when I first met like Chris and Tony, two of my best friends now. Uh, and I was just very like everything I did was sort of exaggerated. Like I was putting on a show almost. Like the school was my stage. Uh, so everything. So I was very. I wouldn't say that I wasn't myself. It was just like an exaggerated form of myself. If that makes any sense, like just being like a showman sort of. But the fact that like just trying like just trying to be cool and popular and stuff like that. But the thing is for an INFP, uh, that sort of thing is not going to make you really happy on the inside, like being popular or having a bunch of friends. Because if you're not being your real self, then those aren't your real friends anyway. Like the not my good friends now that know the real me more, but like the just in general. If you're going out of your way to please everybody, and and yeah, just like get in good with a certain crowd or something like that. Though if they don't know the real you, then then it's not really going to satisfy your introverted feeling, that need for authenticity, and not only the need for yourself to be authentic, but the need for you to be seen as authentic by other people, because that's what it's really about, is people seeing the real you and still and still being your friend, or still wanting to be a part of your life, like in while you are your real self. So you won't INFP won't really be satisfied with being popular if they're not being real and also popular at the same time. So I think we would rather be real and maybe not have that huge circle of friends, and maybe just have a close knit circle of real friends than have a bunch of acquaintances, because we became like everybody likes us for not our real self. And it wasn't until maybe like halfway through high school where I was like, I don't care about being cool anymore. I'm just gonna be myself, my real self. And if somebody is not cool with that, then I guess they weren't really my friend to begin with. So my circle of friends shrunk at that time, but I sort of found out who my real friends were, and I was much happier for it, even though I might not have been as cool or as popular. I felt much better about myself, and about I just felt better in general. And so probably since then, I guess I've always just been my real authentic self, and since then I've become a lot happier. I think it can be especially difficult for INFP males to be authentic all the time. I still get made fun of by my friends for being too emotional or like soft or stuff, something like that. So yeah, so that can make it a little bit difficult. And I also want to make a distinction between being authentic and being honest, because I think that INFPs aren't necessarily always like, I wouldn't say that we are especially honest. Like I think that being honest is like just saying whatever comes to mind without a filter. And I don't think INFPs are like that. Uh, we are authentic in that we are true to what we believe in, and true to who we are. And filtering ourselves sometimes is part of who we are, because we want to maintain harmony in our environment, and inner harmony. And being like brutally honest is not going to create that sort of harmony. And so like I was saying that my friends sometimes make fun of me for being emotional, but most people that know me wouldn't really see me as an emotional person because I'm usually just kind of like cool, calm, and collected when I'm out and about, like in public, and people don't really know that emotional side of me. I think that's why a lot of times INFP males can be mistyped as INTPs because people don't see their introverted feeling or don't. It's not something that's on the surface that's readily noticeable when you meet someone. But I don't think that that's not being authentic. We as INFPs tend to be reserved, and we reserve our most real self for the people who are closest to us, who we can trust. And it's hard to find people that we can trust and really open up our whole self to other people. So I just wanted to make that distinction between being like 100% honest and being authentic. It's not really the same thing. So I had sort of a weird childhood in a way. So my mom left. My biological mom left me when I was like 2 years old. So I was raised by my dad and my stepmom, who was white. And when I was very young, like elementary school, maybe kindergarten through like third or fourth grade, I was going to like pretty much all white schools. So I was usually like the only black kid in my class, and I didn't really know. Like as a kid, I didn't really see that what race or that there were any differences between races and things like that. I remember when I was in third grade, one of my classmates at lunch was like, she said something along the lines of, "Oh well, don't worry, Derek. You talk like you're white." And I was just like, what does that mean? How can your color define how you speak? Like I didn't understand even what that meant. And I remember one time we were at a restaurant and or like at a fast food restaurant or something, and Madonna was on the radio, and somebody said like, "Oh, that's Madonna. She sounds like she's black." And I was like, what does that mean? I don't even understand what that means. Uh, so so later when I was like in fourth and fifth grade, I moved. I was living in like a suburban neighborhood in Chicago back, but when I was younger, and then I moved to Columbus, Ohio. So I changed schools, and around like fourth grade, I started going to a different school, and there were more black people at this school than at my previous school. So but it still wasn't. There weren't that many. Like I was maybe two or three black people in my class, and I started to, I don't know, see like maybe like differences between the way people acted and things like that. But by the time I changed schools and went to seventh grade, it was like totally different. Like the school it wasn't like a predominantly black school, but there were like usually at least like 5 or 6 other black kids in my classes with me. And so when I was going there, and I was kind of like almost like overcompensating for like this blackness that I didn't know before. So I was like trying to act like really like hardcore and thuggish and stuff like that. Like that's what I thought the way I was supposed to act. So with those notes, it was just like that whole persona of mine at that time, like overcompensating for this culture that I kind of didn't know about, or this subculture that I didn't really know about at the time. So yeah, that's what was going on with that time. But and I remember like speaking being like really like slang the way I would talk and stuff when I was at school, and then I would get back home, and my stepmom would always be correcting me, my stepmom would always correct my grammar and stuff, so I would talk like just like proper English when I was at home. And then when I would go back to school and be like, yeah, what's up, man, what's up, homie, and like just like kind of, and I would change the way I spoke. And I remember one time, I don't know what triggered it, but just eventually I was just thinking like, well, what is the real me? Like, which way am I really? Am I putting on a front for my mom at home because kids act different when they're around their parents than they do their friends, sort of like censor themselves. But I was thinking, am I putting on a front at home, or am I putting on a front at school, or is it just natural to be these two different ways? And I used to think about it a lot, like trying to reconcile like who I actually was. Was I mean, I knew I wasn't. I always knew I wasn't like a gangster or anything like that. But was I? But like, which one? I just would always think like, which one am I really? And it wasn't until maybe, I don't know, like halfway through my high school career, like maybe in 11th grade or something, that I was just like, well, I'm just gonna talk one way. So I'm not gonna be speaking this certain way when I'm at school and a certain way when I'm at home. So I just started, talking just the way I do now, sort of, and yeah. So and that was part of like trying to find like who I actually was. Like, not that that's such a big deal, just the way you speak or something like that, but just trying to find my identity was a little bit more difficult because of my upbringing. So, when I finally decided to, like, kind of who I was, it just made it easier because I wasn't. You could just kind of be yourself no matter what. So, if you're changing depending on the situation, sometimes you get into situations where it's like, well, how am I supposed to act? So maybe if my friends are around and they're at my house, like, how do I behave now? Am I gonna do I speak this way, or do I speak that way? Do I speak the way I speak around my mom, or do I speak the way I speak around my friends? Just like stuff like that. It causes this sort of internal conflict, like, so which one is the real me? And it's not a good feeling, or I didn't like the feeling. So I just had to decide like who I really was, and so yeah, that's just a little bit about my story on the road to kind of finding myself in a way. So yeah, let me know in the comment section below if you had a moment where you sort of became your authentic self, or if you just always felt like you were authentic, or just how it worked for you growing up as an INFP, and like how you found yourself. So yeah, thanks everybody for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace and love.
Wait a minute, give me time to reflect. I give my rhyme to dissect so that our minds intersect. Make no limits, I'm inclined to perfect, and it's a sign of respect when I resign at respect. Yeah. Now what are we to do about the universe? I wish to change what I see, it's a human curse. Many say let it be, but it's getting worse. Switch the focus to me, fix myself first.